Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a pretty stunning story from an ancient Buddhist text. It's a story that reveals the true and, honestly, paradoxical cost of perfect compassion on the long, long road to becoming a Buddha. So, let's just start with a huge question. What does it actually take to become a Buddha? I mean, beyond the serene smiles and meditation, what's really required for that epic, eons-long journey to full enlightenment?
Well, you might be surprised. It's a whole lot more than just quiet contemplation. The ancient texts, the sutras, they frame it as this grand cosmic adventure. And every great hero needs the right gear for the quest. So here's the journey we're going to take today. We'll look at the hero's toolkit, the vow that changes everything, the frankly unbelievable sacrifices he makes, and how it all leads to this totally unexpected and pretty shocking finale. Okay, let's dive right in. First up, what does a future Buddha, a bodhisattva, what do they actually pack for this multiversal journey?
Now, the sutra we're looking at lists dozens of virtues, but they all boil down to these 6 core powers. In Buddhism, they're known as the 6 perfections. You can think of them as the foundational superpowers that make everything else even possible. All right, so every good story needs a hero, right? Well, let's meet ours. In a past life, the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni, was known as the Great Compassion Bodhisattva, and he made a choice that would define his entire epic path.
So instead of taking the easy road, aiming for a nice, clean, tranquil paradise, he makes this absolutely radical vow. He deliberately chooses to dive headfirst into the messiest, most contaminated worlds, the ones filled with suffering, greed, and delusion, specifically to help the beings who need it most. And wow, does this vow test him. It leads him down this road of trials that involve acts of self-sacrifice that are, well, they're almost impossible for us to even wrap our heads around. Get this. In one life, he's the king. And to demonstrate perfect generosity, he literally gives his own eyes and skin to a sorcerer, carving them from his own body without a single moment of hesitation. In another lifetime, he finds some sailors who are lost in the dark. So what does he do? He soaks his own arm in oil, sets it on fire, and uses it as a living torch for 7 days and nights until they're all safe.
And then there's maybe the most extreme trial. He sees his people starving in a famine, so he throws himself from a mountain and makes a vow to become food for them. And his body transforms into a huge mountain of flesh that constantly regenerates itself for 10,000 years, feeding every single starving person and animal. Okay, this brings us to a really crucial point. These aren't just graphic stories, they're meant to illustrate a deep philosophy. So you have to wonder, what kind of mindset, what view of reality makes these impossible acts of self-destruction not just possible, but logical?
The secret to his incredible endurance, according to the sutra, it lies in this really profound philosophical concept. It's the engine that powers the bodhisattva's ability to endure absolutely anything.
The sutra calls this state perfect patience. And listen, this isn't patience like you have when you're waiting in a long line. It's not about gritting your teeth and bearing it. No, it's an active state, and it's powered by the wisdom of emptiness. A deep, deep realization about how interconnected everything really is.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting and kind of mind-bending. For us, an action has 3 parts, right? There's me, the doer, there's the act of giving, and there's you, the receiver. Simple. But from the bodhisattva's perspective, those 3 things aren't fundamentally separate at all. There is no ego-driven I who's making some heroic sacrifice.
So here's the absolute key to the whole thing. For the bodhisattva, the act just becomes this pure, selfless flow of compassion. It's not about personal loss or personal gain, because the very idea of a separate, permanent self that can lose something has been seen through. It's an illusion.
So, after eons and eons of this perfect, selfless practice, you'd expect a pretty perfect reward, wouldn't you? A totally pure and blissful paradise. But this is where the story delivers its incredible and honestly shocking twist.
I mean, after all those unbelievable sacrifices, after pushing generosity and patience to their absolute logical limits,
What was the result? What was the karmic payoff? What kind of perfect paradise did all of this incredible good karma finally create for him to become enlightened in?
And this just brilliantly nails the paradox. When he finally becomes the Buddha, he confesses this. He says that in his quest to save beings in the absolute toughest worlds, his methods weren't always gentle. He admits that he used forceful means, harsh words, to basically scare people onto a better path. And doing that, well, it left a karmic stain.
That karmic residue, that subtle imperfection in his methods, it directly resulted in the very world that we live in right now. It's called the Saha world, a place defined by endurance, a world filled with conflict, disagreement, arguments, and impurity. His reward for all that perfect compassion was us.
So let's just quickly put all the pieces together. The journey to Buddhahood demands this immense, superhuman virtue, and that's only possible through a deep understanding of emptiness. But crucially, the way we do good matters just as much as why we're doing it. And finally, our world, in all of its messy, beautiful imperfection, is the direct karmic result of a Buddha's vow to save us by any means necessary. And that really leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought to take away. If even a Buddha's perfect compassion, carried out over countless lifetimes, had these complex, unintended consequences, what does that say about the hidden results of our own imperfect attempts to do good in the world?